Political polarization in America is an increasing problem as the years go by. My questions kind of tie into each other. The first one is, what do you believe is the root cause of this problem? And the second is, how would you go about fixing that?
Great question. So I'm excited about this because I'm writing an entire book on it right now. I think that the root cause of the political divisions in American society and Western civilization more broadly is that there is a telos-shaped hole in our heart that is now being filled with tribalism. So that's a very complicated way of saying that telos means purpose for those who are not philosophy students. In the Aristotelian and Platonic view, the way that you derive your value as a human being is by acting in accordance with nature's law, essentially. That if you look at the universe, what you see is that man is a creature of reason. If you act in accordance with that reason, then you are acting in accordance with your purpose. And there's a whole set of virtues that you have to cultivate in order to act best in accordance with your identity as a reasoned person. And Aristotle recommends these. Judeo-Christian values seem to mirror these pretty strongly, which is why for basically the entire medieval scholastic period, there was a great identity between Aristotelian thought and Judeo-Christian values. And that carried forward all the way through most of the Enlightenment, actually, despite some pushback to the contrary. The American founding was based on this essential idea that every right has a corresponding duty, that you have a purpose in the universe that is laid forth on a religious level by your religious community, by the Bible, and on a reasonable level by a universe that requires certain things of you under natural law, right? This is what the founders talked about when they talked about natural law. I think all of that's been lost. I think it's been systematically undermined by 200 years of philosophy that says that God does not exist, the Bible is a fraud, that you cannot get to ought from is. Right, the David Hume distinction that just because the universe is a certain way doesn't mean that's how you ought to be. And once you do that, and you say to everybody, make your own purpose, it turns out people are not good at making their own purpose. When people try to make their own purpose, they end up usually at hedonism or at self-interest or at the triumph of the will, or at the idea that if we shape together as a community, then we can create utopia together. And you've seen all of those things happen in the 20th century. I think now the most common area in which people are finding fulfillment is tribalism. Because our sense of community has broken down so much, because religious communities have declined, people don't see each other as neighbors or friends anymore. We look at the United States and we don't see a set of common principles that we all hold to. I mean, this is a perfect example tonight. We need probably dozens of security members just for me to talk. We don't have the same set of values anymore. Because of that, people are filling that hole with tribalism. They're filling that hole with, okay, there's a bunch of people who look like me, and therefore those are my people, and I'll stand up for their interests. And you see this, I think, to a certain extent in the Black Lives Matter movement. I think you certainly see it in the alt-right movement. And all of these tribal movements are deeply disturbing and cut against the grain of Western thought, which has been moving toward individuality and universalism simultaneously for the past several thousand years, and is now moving, I think, in a completely sideways direction, thanks to the undermining of these key concepts. Purpose, individual purpose, the capacity of individuals to take control of their lives, communal purpose, and the capacity of a community to set boundaries around individual behavior so far it doesn't hurt other people, and also to ensure people's freedom.